This episode of Let's Talk Natural Medicine is brought to you by BioGlan MedLab, proud platinum partners of ATMS. Built on 50 plus years of healthcare experience and nutritional science, BioGlan MedLab delivers practitioner-only formulas, trusted by practitioners, loved by families. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk Natural Medicine, the Legend series. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with one of our true legends. Her name is Anthia Koullouros. She has been an ATMS member for over 30 years, dedicated 3 decades to being a naturopath, a herbalist, and a homoeopath. She is going to be able to show a reflection of her depth and consistency and passion for the profession over this interview. So welcome to the program, Anthia.
Thank you, Annie. It's a real privilege to be asked. So I really, really have been excited to share today.
Well, let's start sharing. Take us back to the beginning. What drew you to the practice of naturopathy and herbal medicine, particularly?
Well, I don't know if you remember a book called How to Get Well by Paavo Areola. It was published in 1971, and he was a naturopathic physician in Northern Europe. And my mum and dad had this book on their bookshelf amongst the encyclopedia books. You remember the Britannia's
I
encyclopedia?
do.
So on their bookshelf was this little brown book. I was 11 or 12 at the time, and I used to, rummage through the encyclopedias because that was the way we learnt in the
Yeah.
80s, the early 80s. And so here's this book that popped out, How to Get Well, and it's like a very core foundational naturopathy book, A to Z of health conditions, all about activating nuts and fermenting foods and dry brushing and saunas, and I was just so taken by it. But to give more context, I'm Greek Cypriot. My parents came here, dad when he was 11, mum when she was 17, and we were raised growing gardens and eating foods from the garden, a very Mediterranean lifestyle. So I was already embedded in that. And then he pops out this book on natural therapies and natural medicine. And I thought, that's it. That's me. That's what I want to do and be. I didn't know what that meant business wise, but I just thought, that's me.
Incredible. What an early foundation. I love that. It's just like you just grew it, you knew your essence right from the beginning. And it was probably a natural fit, if you'd like, from that kind of background. And then when you then chose, so you just did it straight out, you didn't have a profession before then, you were just 100% assured. So you started with naturopathy.
Started with naturopathy. At the time, we had a family friend who was a very well-known naturopath in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, and coincidentally, and I asked her for some work as well while I was studying naturopathy at the Australasian College of Natural Therapies. And that's when I graduated in 1994. So, yeah, so some people don't believe that I've been practicing for this long, but I have been. And so that's when that journey began. And we had 14 graduates at the time. And I think I was only a handful of people still practicing years later from that. Yeah.
And what do you think is that secret to that longevity then? If you actually did, you do look back and go, gee, not as many people stayed in the profession.
Yeah. I think I got early on. First of all, that I loved it. I fully embodied it. I felt like I was just born into it. And also I was very lucky to be mentored by a naturopath at the time who was running a very successful business. So I was her assistant. So being mentored by a legend herself,
Yeah.
and she taught me the art of running a business and how to be a practitioner and how to meet people. And then I just took that and evolved from that. And it was just a natural fit for me. I love being of that service, and I love meeting people where they're at and taking them on that journey of health and
Mm.
healing.
I
Mm.
love that value of, I'm sorry, I'll have to chop that little bit, little bells ringing.
Mm.
Um, just refresh. I love that value in mentoring. And I think a lot of people miss that step, when you graduate and you go, oh, I better set up my practice straight away. And yes, that is possible, but to have that opportunity to be mentored, and in your situation by a bit of a legend, it sounds in their own right, there is so much value there because, I think when you're studying and your mind's focusing on, what do I need to learn and jumping through all the hoops and obviously sort of landing there and go, wow, I've graduated and I'm ready to make this my career. But also there must be so many things that you learned from that mentor that helped you, that you look back now and go, I'm so glad I learned those truths. Like obviously the way they practice and the way they then implement their skills and they use those skills in their service to others.
Yeah, I think it's essential. I see a lot of students who come out and try and don't stick around for long enough because I think the running of the business is difficult. There is this idea that I'll come out and I'll just have 20 patients a week. And
Mm,
I think that's another skill to be learned. I think
mm.
seeing day to day how a clinic runs and also real life patients, which is very different to student clinic.
Yeah.
Real life patients are coming in with their entire world in front of you. And as holistic practitioners, we put the patient, we hope, this is what naturopaths are doing, we put the patient back into context of their environment because they're an expression of the
Mm.
environment that they're living in. Work life, family life, relationships, what they choose to eat, how they eat and sleep, all of those things. So I learned a lot of through being mentored of what I want to do, what I don't want to do as a practitioner. Um, their skills to be immersed again as a student when you come out. So you finish becoming a student
Mm.
in the official terms, but then you're a student of naturopathic clinic. That's different again. So you start again, and that's how I see it. Even when we're employing student naturopaths or naturopaths, even if they've had a few years' experience under their belt, for us, when it comes into this clinic setting, you're a student again. And I mean,
Mm.
every day I'm still learning just because, we sit in this lovely category of being known as a legend where I will be forever curious and open.
Mm.
I never want to be sitting in a fixed position of knowing at all. And I think that's another key is to observe your mentor and hopefully they will teach you to be curious as well along
Yeah.
the journey.
Always learning. So
Mhm.
you set up Apotheca by Anthea. And so those listening in, what is an apothecary?
Yeah. Apart from being what feels like a witch's cabinet, it's so much more. It's a dispensary, if you like, of natural medicines. So from supplements to an A to Z herbal dispensary. We are also tea makers, so we have a tea company embedded in that. So we also have on our shelves an A to Z of herbal tea blends that are therapeutic and prescribed as well through the clinic, through consultation. So I see it as a natural dispensary, but yes, it's old world and it captures that. And of course, runs the thread of science, but holistic science and it's wonderful to be in. I mean, it's an extension of the clinic. It sits right there next to me, and I've always had one. And I've can't imagine not having an apothecary.
Isn't that amazing? Such an experience for your clients and customers to come and visit as well as just a standard practice. So I think it's quite an experience as well. So
Yeah.
is that why did you get into extending your skill set and qualifications into herbal medicine and homeopathy because of the apothecary, or did you do that beforehand?
Oh, I had done that beforehand, and I just think, if you in a Mediterranean culture, you grow up using
Mm.
herbs. My grandmother used herbs. We drank herbal tisanes. We used tisanes on, to eye bright and chamomile as eye washes. So that was already embedded within me. It was a natural extension, just as food is medicine, herbs is medicine. I still grow herbs, we still dry them and use them. We source all beautiful organic ingredients. So I just think it's one and the same thing for me. Mm.
How have you noticed the Australian consumers change over that time? You know, for you, it was just a natural, organic sort of journey because you grew up sort of in that space as well. But most Aussies didn't. And over your career, you must have noticed, you know, from people not knowing what a herbalist does or whatever, or a natural, or even what is a naturopath, to now it being very mainstream.
Yeah, we were definitely the fringe dwellers, and people were very intrigued though. So I started practicing in 1995. Um, and my mentor had this beautiful apothecary and shop as well, sitting in the eastern suburbs. So it attracted people. There was a lot of theatre to that, as well as people seeking a more complementary alternative support system. And I think it was kind of the origins building in that. There was space for it. And then I also decided to create bricks and mortar because it was before internet, before social media.
Yeah.
My newsletters were letter dropped, printed and beautiful A4 page, front and back, folded,
Wow.
put into people's letterboxes. This is what I do. So I, in 2004, opened up an organic lifestyle stall and apothecary in Paddington, which is very beautiful and nostalgic and historical, and a beautiful Paddington corner in Sydney. And I wanted to be visible. So not just a clinic hidden within a centre somewhere. I wanted to have a storefront where people could come in and see it with the clinic at the top. And I had this spiral staircase, and off I would go upstairs to consult. And then downstairs was floor to ceiling, beautiful dark wooden shelves with all the apothecary items. So I think it attracted a lot of intrigue. At the time, chefs were looking at the provenance of food and ingredients. So they were looking at, we should also put good tea on the menu. So we created a really successful premium tea company at the time called Ovio, which has now become Apotheca. And we were serving and selling teas in cafes and restaurants, as well as people were consuming it, coming into the store to buy it. So we kind of embedded ourselves out there in the scene of food and cafes, restaurants, chefs. So it wasn't so much through medicine, it was through food. And then also I was very fortunate to then be mentored by a wonderful integrative doctor. And through the years, I was working in and out of his clinics, and to adopt and bring in a more holistic approach to his medical practice. And he had a really big medical practice in Double Bay and then Darlinghurst. I think the mentoring very much supported where I was at the time, what was happening on the scene in naturopathy at the time, until this modern day of it feels very saturated, the space of wellness on social media, TikTok.
Yeah.
I ask patients, where do you learn your information from? They'll say TikTok. And
Yeah.
it's very frustrating and overwhelming at the time. When I hear this, for me as a practitioner, because you're constantly these days debunking a lot of myths, it's very confronting and overwhelming for patients who are constantly bombarded with they need to better their lives, or their lives are wrong and they need to be doing better in health and healing. So it's obviously changed a lot to this analog world of naturopathy, health and healing, to a digital world where everyone has the information very easily accessible. But along with that came modernity and stress and technology and fast-paced living, and people so overwhelmed that you're basically untangling and helping them unlearn and debunk and come back to themselves.
Mm.
So
I
from
think
origins to saturation to unfolding again.
that's exactly the journey of how I feel as a consumer. It's gone from, oh, I didn't really know anything about natural medicines to, now then realizing, oh yeah, they're allied health practitioners, complementary medicine. I can see that skill. And then now if I look at my Instagram, for example, it's suddenly like drink this tea and lose 10 kilos in the next 2 weeks or this or that. Like it's just so much crazy information. And
Yes.
as the consumer, it is overwhelming. But I love that way that you did say it. So it must be really frustrating as a practitioner because there's that struggle now to undo all that misinformation. And there also must be that constant tension between being a healer and also running a business. So in one way, people come into your business and you want them to then not just pick a herb or something because they saw it on Instagram or TikTok,
Yeah.
but sort of have that consult and then also be able to have the depth of your professional skills as well. Like that must be just a constant tension for a modern practitioner.
I think it is. And at the same time, I feel very honored that people realize, particularly with chronic persistent symptoms and illness, that just doesn't go away because there's no amount of quick fixes that's going to address
Yeah.
chronicity of symptoms. So that's where they do seek experts like us who have been in the field for a long time and can sit with that individual and help them unpack that and help them really get close to underlying causes, contributing factors, the why of why they may be feeling the way they're feeling, and also to help them understand that healing isn't linear, that you might take a few steps forward, you might take a few steps back. One day you might feel wonderful, the next you might not be. And it's because that is what happens with healing. There is an unfolding
Mm,
that occurs. And so I think it's a re-education as well for the consumer about what is healing, what does it
mm,
look like, and also what has changed immensely because we know consumers don't have capacity, energy, clarity, stress, actual time and space that we need to, as practitioners, do a bit of first aid, create some energy, create some clarity before we do the deeper work. I feel gone are the
mm.
days where we'll be like, let's address the underlying causes.
Yeah.
To be a certain amount of first aid that comes in, which I call it first aid, which is let's create some capacity first and
Mm.
foremost, because otherwise it becomes this huge laundry list of or another checklist of things that the practitioner is giving the patient and they're like, oh, it's too much. Then we become
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah. I think that is that's a real problem of modern day life. It's like, well, I'm already saturated and I'm going to you, but I don't want more things to do. So I relate to that. And then also, I think you tapped into that too of, it might be that people expect some quick wins as well. I think if I look back, 10 or 15 years ago, if I went to a practitioner and they said, it's going to take some time, but we're going to work through and you're going to get there. You kind of go, oh, okay. Whereas now people go, oh no, I want a quick, it's almost like you've got to alternate the quick wins and then be on a program. And then, do you know what I mean? So I think, do you find that modern consumers just more harder to sort of tap into do a deeper journey and are they harder to stay with you because people sort of shop around and don't stick with things as much as well. So it's a real testament to you as a legend to have this 30-year career because obviously you've had that stickability with your clients, which is a
Yeah,
good sign you're doing the right thing.
thank you. I think, yes, you know what it is? I think if you can build a relationship with your patient's consumer that feels like you're really met with that individual, that there is some type of chemistry that works between you and an understanding that I'm for you on this journey. And the nature of health and healing isn't so linear. So be mindful of that. You've been living in this environment and this expression for a long time, and usually by the time they've come to see me, they've tried all the quick fixes.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is they've tried them, they've not worked. They know and sense there's more to this. They're open and curious. Sometimes I feel like maybe my patients are vetted by other patients who have had success with me. And so that makes it easier. They're not coming cold. They know what I'm about. I talk enough about it. I too have a podcast. I write all the time on Substack. The more patients you see, the more they talk. I'm forever present in this space. So I think they get to know what I'm about and whether they've vetted me before they come. And for those who come along and think, oh, maybe not, they end up turning up a year later anyway, which is good. It just means that maybe they're not quite ready to look at some of this stuff.
Yes, exactly. And I think that, yeah, you're tried and tested. And when you've got that bank of people who can already, by word of mouth, show that you practice what you preach and they get the results, and that it's likely that if your friend or colleague got results, they would also get results. A fantastic example of a successful business. What role do rituals and consistency of those rituals play in healing, do you think?
I think super important, because it's as if we're not aware of creating time and space for self-care, then we get consumed by the ravenous modern world. And so I'm very much into 4 touch points in a day for myself, for our team, for our patients, morning rituals, midday rituals, end of work day or end of school day ritual, and night rituals, where we at least have these 4 touch points to come back to every single day, because they're oriented around food and the extension of self-care, that we don't forget ourselves in the mix of it all, because it's easy to. I mean, people spend hours scrolling, or they spend hours watching TV or shopping or anything to numb or dissociate. And that's why I like looking at everything through the lens of the nervous system. So when along comes polyvagal, Peter Levine's trauma work, Gabor Mate's work, and often people will say to me, oh, you sound like a psychologist. I'm definitely not, and I will refer on if that deeper work is required. But how can I not know that work if I'm practicing as a naturopath? Because that governs the choices that people are making, whether they're in a state of fight, flight, freeze state, fawn state, regulated state. That awareness, because people are stressed, that awareness is really probably the most important step for me to understand about an individual. So rituals help create that without bypassing, because we know about spiritual bypassing and wellness bypassing, where people aren't addressing what needs to be addressed and they're sitting on the surface of health and healing. Rituals as reminders of what we are in this natural or artificial setting. And lens of the nervous system.
You've mentioned that you've worked alongside doctors, you're very aware of psychology but not a psychologist. How important it is for you as a long-term practitioner to be integrated with other healthcare practitioners on a day-to-day basis?
Super important. Every day we say to our patients, we want to work with your doctor. Don't hide us, compartmentalize us in a box somewhere. Or I haven't told my doctor about you. I haven't told him I'm doing this or taking this. I constantly suggest that they do. And the reason being, and I think that doesn't help naturopathy evolve or natural medicine evolve if we're sitting in a box separate to the rest of the world. We don't then influence the current system of medicine if we're compartmentalized somewhere else, sitting on a shelf somewhere else. So I love writing letters to their doctors. I don't care if they do eyeball rolls or dismiss me.
Yeah.
It's not about me, it's about the patient. And I think that's one of the issues of modern health and healing and modern medicine is fragmentation. It is if there's enough science to show, it's one of the barriers of healing for individuals is a patient feeling fragmented system-wise. So they see different specialists. Specialists don't talk to doctor. They're seeing different practitioners from physio, acupuncturist, dietitian. They're seeing their naturopath. And I think, no, we all need to be on the same page for the patient. That is an important step of healing.
100%. I mean, the patient would just go, who's actually managing me? I totally understand that. Now, you have written books and courses, you've got a podcast, you send out newsletters. Why is sharing knowledge beyond the clinic so important?
It's a really good question because why do I do it? I've been writing a weekly Substack. As soon as Substack came out, I started writing a weekly Substack. Every single Monday I turn up and I write. Obviously, I write it a few days before, but it gets released on Mondays. I've not missed one. I'm that way inclined. I think I burst to the seams with stuff to share. Obviously, I distill it so it's easy to understand and to be met well. I'm not just putting stuff out for the sake of putting stuff out because of my ego needing stuff out. It's more that I enjoy it so much, I learn. So I would say I do it for me first and foremost because I love it. I love exploring and learning and reading other authors and what people are coming up with. I like exploring beyond the realm of natural therapies as well, whether it be architecture, art, poetry, it doesn't matter, because I'm very curious about other realms as well. And then I hope it lands. I distill it so it is readable and easy to digest. I think if I'm not passionate about what it is that I'm sharing, that it would come through anyway. So I got on the podcast wagon only 6 months ago. I've only just released 7 episodes because my patients were in the space. They were asking, they want to hear because they're time poor. So I thought, okay, I will create short little podcasts. In a sense, that's information that I'm sharing. I still like the written word. And yes, currently writing a book on this is working title. This is how we heal, which are all the barriers of healing. So looking at everything very holistically, everything that I've learned thus far. I feel like that's my legacy book, apart from any other thing that I've written, because I want to share what I've learned. And when you write and when you research and read, you put yourself through that. I'm the living experience of naturopathy. I embody it wholeheartedly. You could come to my home, come to my clinic and see that. So it's education for me. It's part of who I am. I love being in that space.
I love that too. And I think that helps people build that trust over time. Often people in business go, what one point led you to Anthia, for example? And it's kind of like going, oh, I just have listened to her podcast or I've read, sometimes it's so many touch points of something that someone connects with and they start following you and then it's over a period of time. So it is a big factor of building trust over time, building awareness of not just what you offer, but who you are. And I think more and more people are looking for that authenticity, that personal connection, as well as the professional, So do you find that people go, I'm coming because you are professional and Anthia rather than just one or the other?
Yeah. exactly that, because that's how they build relationships with us. That's how they feel like they know a piece of you, so you're relatable. Um,
Mm,
that's how they know chemistry wise if it would work.
mm. How do you keep from overextending yourself, though? You're a very busy lady, and you've got to practice what you preach, as I said before. So, is it so easy to just get yourself overloaded, or what are your tips there? What's your secret?
I think I've done a lot of deep work on myself. I think everyone needs to see a therapist, and I kick off with that. So for me to be able to do the work that I do, I needed to, understand how I tick and operate and why I make the choices that I make, and really meet my nervous system. Um, because only then I can be in real present time, embodied within myself and the work that I do. And I think one of the most important things that we can offer our patients is an embodied practitioner, or um, a very present, regulated nervous system.
Mm,
Because as we know, we co-regulate, and through that regulated nervous system, we have more capacity, perspective, more openness and curiosity. So if someone sitting opposite me can be in a more regulated space, chances are they'll be able to take in more information, hear what they need to hear, feel the trust and safety that goes on within a consult, and we start the journey from there.
mm,
So I think that is the key. That is the that's the most important thing, is that practitioner heal thyself. Often people said, "Oh, did you have some disease? Is that why you studied
yes.
naturopathy?" It's like, no, I didn't even know about diseases when I studied naturopathy, except through Pavo's book. It wasn't about that. It was whatever that was within me that decided to do that. It was more that as any human being, we've got stuff. And I thought, to be able to sit opposite another, can I hold mine? Could I hold theirs? Not project, be open and
Mm,
curious, have those lovely boundaries, and travel with them on that journey.
mm, beautiful. Do you have a favorite type of patient, client, or when you look back over 30 years, have you specialized in a certain area, or do you get more joy from outcomes in a certain space?
Um, I mean, I love the patients who declare that they ha declare their kind of emotional landscapes and mental landscapes. I love working in that space. I love the patient that is wanting to do the deeper work, and is very curious. In regards to medical conditions, I kind of see it all in as one, and especially
Mm,
because, I know as young naturopaths, the goal is to find your niche, and that way you
yes.
market that niche. And over the years, I started seeing that's what naturopaths were doing, and I thought, what am I doing? What do I need to be in? And it used to stress me out for a long period. And the young naturopaths would like look at me and be, how ridiculous! You've already got an established practice. And I thought,
Mm,
but what is my niche? And I think
mm.
as I've evolved and grown, it's just chronic, ongoing, persistent symptoms. That's what it is in any realm.
In any realm, you just want to make sure that that person just gets better, gets well. Oh, that's classic. I love that. And what if your patients taught you? I find everyone gets taught by those they serve as well as giving out. Do you look and think, I've learned things from the people that I've mentored or helped?
Gosh, there's so many things, because it is a funny thing. Sometimes patients reflect what it is that you need to hear or work on yourself. So there is that. Um, they've taught me a lot about capacity. They've taught me a lot about the effects of modernity, because they're an expression of that. And they've taught me to not fall down the black hole of hopelessness as well, when you think, gosh, there are so many people with cancer, and there are so many people who are who are desperately getting so unwell, and so I sit in reverence. Um, People are incredible. They're so resilient. And I hold that hope for them as well, regardless. And I think that's very, very important.
Mm.
There's so many things that they've taught me, just even their acts of kindness, just the fact that I always get surprised every now and then a patient will just say, "So how are you?" Because no one ever asks. You're the practitioner asking them. So I think, oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much for asking. I'm very well,
So
thank you.
yeah. Oh, that is so true. So true. When you look back over 3 decades, what are you most proud of? Is it just the person you've become, the healing that you've been able to do, the setting up a business, the what is it? Is there one thing or is it a combination of so many things?
I don't know, because these are great questions, because sometimes I think about them and I often don't get asked them. I think tenacity, and I wonder, well, I know, doing deep therapy, why I have this tenacity in this space. I have, a love, an absolute love for it. I think I don't know. I think maybe the first word that comes is tenacity, and I know I'm very, I just show up regardless. I don't know what procrastination means.
Mm,
It doesn't mean that I'm better than a procrastinator. It just means my nervous system has always shown up, and there's a reason for that. And that's how I probably create safety and regulation in my world. I do show up.
mm,
I'm forever present in this space, and luckily I enjoy it. I'm hoping it's still not from a reactive space of needing to be heard or validated. I think maybe some of the origins of that, some of the origins of maybe baby naturopath Anthea was the fringe dweller that thought there was so much injustice in the world. I think what I've learned as a naturopath is there's no one size fits all, there's no perfect. I get
mm,
as young naturopaths, and I was one of these, and I get it that you think no drugs are good and no medications are good, and that's not how we do things, and everyone's just got to do this. That's not reality. I wish. It's not about me projecting what I think is ideal. We need to meet them exactly where they're at, even if they're on 10 medications, even if we don't agree with it, it doesn't really matter. It's more about how do we listen to what a patient wants and
mm,
move them through to get what it is that they want.
mm,
And you hope there's a domino effect, that they're suddenly the choices that they make for themselves obviously impact every other choice that's made in the world. If you choose clean or low tox living, that's better for plants and farmers and environments and flora and fauna. Maybe
mm.
that's my secret goal is that change the world one patient at a time, perhaps.
I think that's a great goal. And I think that's what you've been doing for 30 plus years,
Mm.
changing one patient at a time and helping people to go on their journey. And I love that reflection, Anthea, that, yeah, that's right. Like when, if you look back when you're 20 and one idealistic and very passionate. And yes, all those things are really true. But what's come across over this interview is just that depth and grounding and realistic, and if you're going to be integrated with other professionals and even the patients going to have will definitely rightfully so have their views on medications they'll have, supplements they'll have, other ways of choosing to live their life. And it I think that summary of what do you want to be known for or proud of is just when you said just showing up consistently. I think that's definitely why you have been so successful. So
Thank
what
you.
does staying healthy mean to you now?
For me is continually doing deeper work to understand why and how I operate the way that I do. It is being in I love the word words embodied ecology. So yes, I'm an expression of the environment that I'm in, making healthy choices that are not just good for me, good for all. Of course, all the things, eating organic and whole foods and preparing well, that's a given, that is my foundations, and sleeping and hydrating, and all those wonderful things, and love and kindness and reverence. I think staying healthy is about being open and curious, because I think you brought home a really good point to me, and thank you for seeing that. If I wasn't so integrative, I don't think I'd have longevity in my career. I'd be sitting on a shelf in the corner in my own little bubble, speaking to, yes, perhaps like-minded people, but they're not the ones so much needing the help and support. It's the people who have fallen through the gaps, who have long forgotten their way. They're the people. I'm in the mix of things. Sure, would it be nice to go and live in Byron Bay and be around it all? No offense to those who live there, of course, but I feel like perhaps I want to be more in the thick of things here in modernity and stress, and because I feel like I can cut through that and see that. I know that's something really important in staying healthy.
So true. And just to finish up, what's your favorite tea, Anthea?
You're asking a tea lady who makes tea, has a tea company. I will start my day with an English breakfast. Then I will move on to a chai, and I try then to limit caffeine. But probably my shine, our lemon and ginger, sweet lemon and ginger tisane, it was the first in the marketplace, and we had this natural sweetness. It was just not lemongrass and ginger. So it's been our biggest selling tisane since 2004. So a long time.
Wow.
And then ruby, which is juniper, hibiscus, rosehip, rose petal, kind of a red ruby.
Wow.
Tea that I turned iced.
There you go, everybody. It's hard to choose between all of your children, I know. And there you go. For all of our listeners, Anthia Koullouros has just given you her top tips from the Tea Queen. So you definitely want to tap in there. And I definitely want to come and visit your apothecary. And I'm in Sydney, so there's no excuse. I will definitely be coming your way. Thank you so much for sharing just a glimpse into your career journey. It's been truly amazing, and I've enjoyed just listening to you share, and just to I can feel your heart beat and passion and purpose and just true desire to help others through your craft. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
You, dearest Annie, they were beautiful questions and conversation. Thank you.
And for those listening in, thank you so much. I love you showing up for all of our episodes. We will have another legend very, very soon for you. And if you haven't yet joined Friends of Natural Medicine, jump on to atms.com.au, click on Friends. It's free to join. And then you'll receive, obviously, links to all of our podcasts, but you'll also get recipes from a celebrity chef. You'll also get some blogs from our accredited practitioners and so much more. So jump online, atms.com.au, click on Friends, or just scan the QR code if you're watching us on video. Till then, stay naturally well.